Hi, Amy. Hi, how are you? This is Aimee Boswinkle, and she is an intuitive business coach. And today we're going to be discussing the multidimensional self and higher consciousness. So, hi, Amy, how are you doing?
Hi, Elizabeth. I am doing so well today. I'm so excited for our conversation. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with your community.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've been very excited about it as well, actually. So, the multidimensional self. So, this is a very interesting concept, and the way that I'm sort of looking at it, is that we have these multiple aspects of ourselves. But the burning question is always, how does this multiple aspect of ourself fit into the wider, greater collective field that we exist in and the universe that we exist in as well? So what's your take on the multidimensional self? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, this is such a great conversation, and thank you so much for the question. um, I I love having these types of conversations and just the perceptions that so many people have. So my personal take on that is, that there are many different, universes, galaxies, planets, solar systems, whatever wording it is that works for you, and that there are just various different aspects of our self, our true self. One might call it our soul, one might call it our inner being, whatever that word is for you. And we're experiencing life in different spaces, but yet all connected with, as you so beautifully said, just in some of our previous conversations, different timelines, different things, aspects of ourselves going on. But when we take those moments of reflection and silence, we have the capability of being able to tap into any version of us that we want to tap into and gain the wisdom from that version of us to be able to propel us forward, here in these beautiful human beings that we've been granted.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we can access different timelines, different aspects of us, our more successful self, we can break through energetic memories from past lives and things that are holding us back. And I think I agree with you, once we understand or we see that we are more than the physical body, I think it really starts to open up our life and allow us to live a much, much, much better life in this, in this physical world, in this lifetime.
Absolutely. And my personal experience, if I could just bring that in for a moment, um, I had lived what I call a sleep, or not aware of, these sorts of concepts and belief systems. And when I was asleep, I lived in a lot of pain and suffering and sadness. And I had gone through various different traumas in my life. And then I had been introduced to, different types of thought. And those different types of thought were correlated to various questions that helped me delve into more of my subconscious mind, not just like why questions um, that talk to the prefrontal cortex, but what and when and how questions that actually tapped into the cerebellum of my brain. And as I was presented those types of questions, I woke up, right? Like I woke up and I started to understand things that I had naturally felt and known kind of inside of me, but I was able to heal these lower vibrational consciousness states of being that I had lived in for most of my life. And I started to connect into, my higher self and these higher forms of thought and this multidimensional consciousness. And it's just been such an amazing journey.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us a little about your story. So I know we talked about it before, but it's very interesting. I think it will resonate with a few people.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. So I've grown up in a household of abuse and neglect. I was abused by a family member sexually starting at age 3. And I was told to never tell or nobody would love me. And my mother was a prescription opiate addict. And so I had to grow up very fast and raise my little brother. And I felt very alone throughout a lot of my life. And I believed that I was unworthy. I honestly, when I would look at people, I couldn't look them in the eye. I couldn't even speak, so much so that some of my teachers thought I was a special needs student. And I was sent to special needs classes where they quickly realized I didn't belong in there, and I was sent back into the regular classrooms, but the teachers didn't really want to work with me. So I created these belief systems that I wasn't good enough. And I lived in what is sometimes called a victim consciousness, believing that I lived in a lot of shame. I lived in a lot of guilt. I lived in a lot of fear. I believed I wasn't good enough, which led down the road to drugs and alcohol and just numbing out, not knowing how to deal with my life. And got in trouble with the law, lost jobs, lost friends, lost family, and led to suicide attempts where I was almost successful several times. But for whatever reason, the universe said, nope, you are to stay here on this planet. And that I tried for quite a number of years to heal in the conventional way, the AANA therapy, medication, traditional therapy, got the labels, this is what's going on with you. And, I tried wholeheartedly. I wanted to get better. There were periods of time in my life I wanted to get better, but those approaches didn't work for me. And in another moment of suicide and, very much under the influence, I crashed my car into a telephone pole and was looking at spending a year in jail. And my parents decided to take me back into their home one last time under the condition I had to have a job. And I crashed my car. I lost my license. There's a lot going on, and I had to walk to find this job. They were not willing to take me anywhere. So 3 blocks from their home was a natural health food store where I got a job. And I studied the human body nonstop: biology, chemistry, physiology, anatomy, energy medicine, medical intuition, emotional therapies, all of those sorts of things, until I was able to understand the energetics behind the human body. And I learned to heal myself. And through that process, I taught my concepts to other people and helped them heal through not just the physical ailments that they were dealing with, but the root cause, which were the emotional states of being, which were causing the low vibrational consciousness and keeping them stuck.
Okay. And you went on to do a BSc in psychology, yeah?
I actually had my it's a BA, a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology before. So before that, I actually had my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. I worked with children who had suffered emotional distress and abuse for quite a number of years. And then I worked in different realms with children, and then got the job at the health food store. And then that door, I worked there for 12 and a half years, and that door led to health coaching. And that was literally what changed my life. The tools that I was given through NLP, through somatic healing. And from that point, that's where I was studying like energetics and Reiki and energy healing and all of those sorts of things, and everything just came together.
Okay, so this is then sort of, because I went down the same sort of route. I was burnt out. My mom had died, and I started studying energy practices in order to heal myself. And then I began to realize how transformational they were. And the more that you practice these things, the more it actually starts to open out the true multidimensional self, and you start to understand and realize that you are much bigger than just this physical body. And in fact, now, the research is showing that we have an energy field that expands 9 feet out of our body. So when we understand that we're not just this physical body, we have an energy field, an energy body as well, as you discussed from your intuitive anatomy, that we're beginning to see that there's this entire invisible world that we cannot see. But this invisible world is not only creating our physical world, but it's also creating many of the problems that we have in our physical world as well. And this is what we mean by the multidimensional self, isn't it? That we are so much more than this physical body, but there are many more aspects of us as well. So this multidimensional self, do you see this as our mind or our body, or how do you view it in that way?
I see it as our soul, really, right? I don't believe the human mind or the human body can really conceptualize it in a sense. I think that the body, through releasing like the emotional frequency of shame is 20 hertz. That's one of the lowest vibrational frequencies on this planet. And then guilt resonates at 40 hertz and fear resonates at 100 hertz, right? Like people can't even wake up and realize that there are these higher forms of consciousness until they reach the emotional standpoint of courage, which is 200 hertz, right? Right. And from courage, that doesn't mean fear goes away. Like we begin to walk with fear and we expand into these higher vibrational frequencies, love at 500 hertz, right? Like inner peace is at 600 hertz, right? And then this is where the big, like you can start to tap into that.
Yeah, the higher consciousness. Yeah. So exactly the higher levels, yeah. And then from these higher levels of consciousness, this, in my opinion, taps us into an entire like universe of higher consciousness, because we are vibrating at such a low level of consciousness. We are only tapped into this low level in the physical world, if you like. But this higher consciousness taps us into, just so much more information, wisdom, creativity, knowledge, everything. There's so much more information to be accessed from the higher consciousness levels, I believe.
Absolutely, right. So to go back to your question, right, when we elevate past those certain frequencies, when we've done enough healing in our human mind and the human body, right, like to go back to that and re-explain, like we have to start to teach the mind to trust, exactly, evolve by trust. And I do believe that the body, right, the body feels it. So it's like the body is the vessel, right? Once we expand, the body is the vessel to bring in these higher level frequencies. And then we get the brain to evolve by trust. And how does the brain trust? It trusts through like 2 + 2 = 4, right? So when you're asking it to trust something that it has never been given a mathematical equation for, you have to continue a skill set over and over and over again through the practice of trust. So then the brain is like, oh, even though I can't see it, even though I can't feel it, even though, right, like you've shown me by taking like action from a space of uncertainty that these things that we feel inside of us are true, and then it becomes more concrete.
Because life starts to improve, life gets better. We start to create, synchronistic moments. We start to attract better opportunities. Things improve, and then the mind is like, okay, life is better. I can go with this. But I do think that we can feel energy. And I do feel, when we're connecting to this higher consciousness, you can feel the energy and, and I'm sure it's sort of gravity or something like that, but you sort of can feel it. And I found this quite helpful for the mind, because if you can feel it and sense it, even though you can't see it, you can feel it and sense it, it's giving some sort of proof to the mind to be able to understand that there is more than the mind. And I sort of think that the mind, by definition, will never be able to understand something it can't define or put in a category or put inside a box. So you have to go beyond the mind to access any of this sort of wisdom. But as you say, the mind evolves. It does evolve and it grows with you eventually. But that's why it takes so long to process and why it takes so long to spiritually awaken, because the mind is always playing catch up.
Absolutely. You worded that so beautifully. I love it.
Okay, so what's your take on higher consciousness then? What's your sort of, feelings about that?
Yeah, so once we've done a level of healing and we arrive here, right? Like, to me, the way that I have learned it, right? This higher dimensional consciousness, because we've done this level of healing, like you said, like our body begins to feel these higher vibrations coming in, which in my world, I call them chakras, right? Like, as we heal all of the stuck, repressed emotion that gets stored in our chakras, and we create new pathways for energy to enter the body, then we get access into these higher realms. And from there, I mean, it's infinite, right? Like there's infinite possibilities, and the amount of downloads or channeling or whatever wording works right for us, we can tap into all of that universal knowledge and connect to, as we said at the beginning of the podcast here, tap into the higher self, tap into, like, our infinite ability to heal our own, body and heal DNA, and tap into energy and vitality. And all of this information is, just codes that just get sent into the human being if, in my opinion, just my perspective, we take the time to create silence and allow it to come in.
And get beyond the mind, because I don't know about you, but I work with many people who really just cannot get beyond the mind. The mind is always pulling them down, and it's just allowing yourself, I mean, as you say, that silence, that peace, that quiet, so you can just get beyond the mind, quiet the mind down, and then you can access the higher consciousness. And then you can access, the healing, the information, the wisdom, the creativity. But the mind, I think, is not able to do that. It's keeping you in this physical world. It's keeping you in this physical body. So it serves a purpose, absolutely, but it's not necessarily helping you to live a better life, because the mind is also where many of the childhood traumas and issues live as well, and trying to keep us in our comfort zone, or trying to keep us away from risk, and all these sorts of elements that only getting beyond the mind will give you that peace, that that inner peace, that comfort, that support, that guidance, that creative expression, however it may be, that will only come from accessing the higher consciousness. So I'm trying to sort of say to people, spend more time accessing your higher consciousness, and this is going to make you feel better. And then that will then lead you to, doing it more and more and more and more. And of course, we're then accessing our multidimensional self as well, the higher consciousness part of our multidimensional self.
Absolutely. I mean, on this planet, if you're looking at like shadow states and then holding the master key code, one of the biggest shadow states on this planet is is addiction, and specifically the addiction to the mind, right? And then there is a programming partner to that, interception, right? So we have two programs running inside of the human. One is the shadow state of addiction, but then its programming partner is interception. And it's about, you're absolutely right, getting beyond that programming that is so embedded inside of the human, right? And creating like beyond the addiction to the mind, when you break free from the prison of your own mind, you find the most beautiful freedom you have ever found, right? Like that's one of my quotes.
Yeah.
When you break free from the prison of your own mind, you will find the most beautiful freedom you will ever find, right? And it's being able to break through those shadow states and come into those enlightened states of, silence, right? Silence is breaking free beyond the limitations of the mind. So I think that you explain that so beautifully, and that's just the way that I explain it to people whenever I'm working with them. And then you're right, like from here, from this enlightened state, when you get the master key code to silence, right, like then here is that infinite expansion of being able to bring in all of the codes, to be able to access and share, like be able to share the information that we're given. And then that even takes a process, right? Like we're given it and it feels right and it feels good, inside of our soul, and our body accepts it because our body feels, like you said, the aura expands and we're in that like 9 feet and the auric energy is nice and full. And then the brain accepts it at first, and then an hour goes by or 2 hours goes by or 3 days goes by, and the brain is like, wait a second.
Yeah.
How are you going to talk to people about this?
Exactly. You sound like you're mad.
Right? Yeah, I know. And then we work through that, and then we just have beautiful conversations like these.
I know. It is a strange evolution, definitely. But I think one that, as this planet raises, the vibration, we are all raising our vibration. And I think more and more of us are waking up, and indeed waking up, unlocking hidden code. And I can see that as we again raise our vibration, we move up to this higher consciousness, we then interact with the energy field around us, and the energy field interacts with us. And this is something which I think is very interesting, because the more we can stay in this higher state, the more we are interacting in a high vibrational way with the energy field. And we are, if you like, it is raising, like it's changing our DNA, because our environment changes our DNA. So this is changing our DNA. This is, if you like, even unlocking dormant DNA, in our bodies. And it's allowing us to then raise our vibration even more. So I feel that, we're not just in the energy field, we are the energy field, and we're constantly being upgraded daily by it. But if you're down in the lower levels of consciousness, you will not be upgraded in that beneficial, higher vibrational way. We need to raise our level by getting beyond the mind, and then your body is naturally being activated, and as you say, codes unlocked in your body, and you start to change internally, which then of course changes your external world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is about, to go back to what we were saying, like that trust, right? When all we've ever known is one thing, yet there's this ping. Like, I feel like there's a ping or a knowing or a sense, or, and like just trusting and following that, and then finding the tools that work right for us so that we can tap into that truth, because it is a truth to me. That is a truth to me. And from that energetic feel where we are all, being able to have these really high vibrational conversations and bring other people who feel called to this conversation, to this level of consciousness, to me, and I know, obviously this is your heart too, like raising that space together into those higher dimensional spaces, healing the DNA, like opening up what has been dead and dormant inside of us, so that we can transcend and ascend into the next level
of consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as we talked about before, I think we're all moving up. Our levels of consciousness are all moving up, and it's a continuous conveyor belt that just never probably stops, actually, because it's infinite. So we are, we are in our place, in our position in the universe, doing the same as everyone else, everything else is doing as well. So when you talk about code, hidden code, what's your definition of that? What's your thoughts about code?
Oh, that's such a great question. To me, it's code is perhaps a type of communication we have with our soul to like
Memory, maybe a memory.
yeah, like to higher consciousness or God frequency, as I call it, right? Like it's a memory or a way to communicate. And right, like it's an energy. I definitely feel like it's an energy, but it's encoded, it's memory, it's remembrance, might be another word we can use for that. And being able to tap into that to heal the human race, to heal this planet called Earth, this learning planet that we've been given access to just because we wanted to come here and have the experiences that the human beings have. And in my opinion, it's the ultimate lottery ticket to be granted a human.
Yeah, so I know that there's some research now, I think it's to do with the Human Genome Project, but they're talking about how we are actually, we have the God consciousness actually sort of as part of our DNA. We are all primed, if you like, to have that feeling, that greater feeling, that sort of feeling that there is something greater than us. We all have that, and of course that's probably one of the things that's being unlocked in our bodies at the moment. But as you say, so I agree with what you're saying, and I think the same, that these hidden codes are hidden memories. There is hidden wisdom that we have been, that we've had for millennia, and it's now starting to unlock in us all now, and we're starting to resonate more with things. We're starting to feel our truth more, and we're starting to think, yeah, actually that I can believe that, I can go with that. And it's allowing us to wake up dormant knowledge, wisdom, and memories that I think have been hidden for a very, very long time. Do you feel that this is maybe because the vibration of the planet is raising as well, that it's helping to unlock these sort of hidden memories inside of us?
I do believe that. I do believe that the raising of the vibration on the planet is unlocking that. I also, everything is always divinely timed, of course, right? More people were granted access to this truth, I feel, when the world shut down because of COVID, and many people were forced, in a sense, to rest, take a break, whatever that looked like, right? And people were given an opportunity to be with themselves, probably for the first time in quite a long time, for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Right. So we were granted this really beautiful experience of rest, and however it is people walked through that, it was different for each of us, and the raising vibration of the planet. It was just like everything was just so divinely timed, and whether people are resonating at that frequency of 200 hertz, which is courage, right? Where we're actually able to say there is more, or they're operating under that 200 hertz where they're still what I call asleep. Yeah. We're all leveling up, right? Yeah. And it looks different to all of us. And for those of us who are at that, we've done a level of work where we're being leaders and guiding people, right? Being able to look out in the most unattached, non-judgmental way to all human beings and love their experience, right? Like, not love it that we have to be in it, but just say, wow, your current experience is so beautiful, even if they don't feel it's beautiful, right? Like, just holding that space, right? And understanding there's 7.7 billion people on this planet called Earth. And that means that there's 7.7 billion different perspectives and experiences and truths. And each and every one of those is exactly right for that person.
Yeah. And in the work of Dr. David Hawkins, who created the level of consciousness table, he actually says, and I write this in my book, I have a bit on this in my book, but he actually says that humanity is at the level of courage. And, but it was only 15% of humanity that did that, because they are such a high level that they pulled the rest of humanity up. So as a collective, we are at the level of courage 207. But individually, most people, 85% of people, are still below the level of courage. So, in fear, as you say, shame, guilt, grief, all these, and pride, all these sorts of things. So, but I suspect that over these past 2 years, that probably shifted quite considerably now as well. And, and more of us, I feel, are starting to move up. And as you say, ascend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can feel it, can't we? We can, as a collective, you can feel it.
Yeah, never before in my life have I heard so many people talking about energy, and their interpretation of that, and their, like, willingness and desire to learn more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think because they can feel it, and they know they can now feel into their energy body, and they're like, wow, I want to know more about that. Okay, I feel my energy, but now I want to know why I feel it, how I feel it, and why I never felt it before.
Exactly. And they get all of these beautiful opportunities, to tap into conversations like this. So I know I've said it, Elizabeth, but your work is just so profound, and I am just so grateful to be given this opportunity. And I am so grateful that you are out in the world conducting these sorts of conversations for us.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And likewise, this has been such a fascinating conversation. Thank you. And I know that we've been going for a really long time now. I could talk for hours. Truly, I could talk for hours. Maybe we'll have to do another one then.
Anytime. I love talking with you.
Okay. All right, we'll do another one. There's some other conversations I want to have with you too. So we'll do another one. Okay. But for now, tell everyone how they can connect with you. Do you have any sort of new programs or services, or anything coming out you want to talk about? Anything like that? Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Right now, what I'm feeling really guided to share with humanity are my quantum alignment and activation sessions. So this is a 60-minute healing session where we dive deep into what might be feeling limiting or holding you back, and really connecting to that quantum field, and providing the somatic and the energy healing and the energetics to give you that quantum leap to connect into your truer self and get rid of all of the things that are really holding you back. So that's what I'm offering right now. And then I also have 2 other opportunities. One is one-to-one work with me. If you're out there in the world and you have experienced any type of trauma in your life, and that trauma experience is why you're here to help other people heal in some way, and you want to make a business out of it, I provide one-to-one work on that, and how to get your message out into the world, and attract clients into your world, and attracting the right clients in your world. And then I also have a mastermind as well, if you like group experiences. I can be found on Instagram at Aimee Boswinkle. It's AMIEE BOSWINKLE. Also on Facebook at the same, Aimee Boswinkle. My email is amikboz@yahoo.com. Or if you find me on Instagram or Facebook, you can send me a private message. I'm always happy to have conversations with people.
Okay, that's great. I'll put all those links in the notes as well, so everyone can get them from there. Okay,
Great.
That's cool. Thank you so much. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Me too.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.